Thanks for joining Sales with Suli, a mom of three who spent the last 12 summers knocking doors. Welcome to my podcast where I talk about all things women, the ups and downs of my journey, and what it takes to find success on and off the doors. Enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Sales with Suli. I'm pumped. This person that I have on today's show is she's so fascinating, and I look up to her in so many different ways, and it's just fun to be able to say that you have someone on the show that you look up to. But the reason that I have Heidi, is her name, here on today's show, I'm just looking back at the space. In Door to Door, we're just super predominantly male ran in this space. We live in a society where moms are supposed to be the caretakers. Moms are supposed to be the ones cooking and cleaning and doing all the fun things, which I love the women who enjoy that. Like, I am not going to not validate those women who enjoy being present and being at home and enjoying some of those things, because my husband absolutely enjoys what he does. But in our society, it's super common to where it's like, oh, you're the one who's working? Oh, he's the one that's at home with kids. And today, like with Heidi, I kind of want to address that. Like, I want to talk about normalizing. It doesn't matter who's who and doing what in the type of relationship or field or industry or whatever it is. If it fits for you, if it fits for your family, if it fits for just for you specifically, and it's okay. Take it and own it. But Heidi is a freaking like boss babe. Like, I feel like she is a cool version of me. But in a completely different industry. She like just slays it in real estate and just slays it in a lot of aspects of her life. And I just kind of want Heidi to introduce herself. Just tell us a little bit about you, like how you got to where you are in your career, what you do, and how you met the hubby and all the goods. Like, I want you to share your story.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you. And I'm not the cool version of you. You're just as cool. I absolutely adore you. And I totally agree with you. I think that you have to do what works for you. Yeah. And I knew from the time that I was, in sixth grade that I wanted to be a millionaire. And I think that, I was kind of rebellious as a teenager, as many of us were. And I ended up getting pregnant when I was 19. And I think a lot of people, when people get pregnant when they're 19, they count them out, right? Oh, you're a single mom at 19.
Yep.
And I was determined to still do what I was planning on doing. I was still going to be a millionaire. I was still going to do what I wanted to do.
Did you know what you wanted to do at that time, or you just knew that you were going to be a millionaire?
I didn't know how I was going to be a millionaire. I just knew I was going to be a millionaire. And so I actually moved from California to Utah so I could focus on my baby. And I didn't know anyone in Utah except for my family.
Wow.
But I wanted to be able to focus on my baby and like get a career and really make sure that I still met my goals. I knew if I stayed in California, I'd be tempted to still like party or, hang out with friends and not fully focus on a career and my baby.
You knew your weaknesses and you were like, I need to leave from that.
Right.
I love that.
And so I left from California and moved to Utah and didn't know anyone and just did that. I focused on my baby and I focused on my career. And I got a job in Utah in staffing, and I worked my way up. I started as a temp assistant, filling in for someone, and worked my way up to the point that I opened my own company. And then I just exited and sold my part of that company 2 weeks ago.
I didn't know. So this company that you sold was the one that you had started at the very bottom from, like way back when?
No. So I started at the bottom of a $1 billion, very large company.
Okay.
And then left that company, and I started for another company that was somebody else's company, and then
in staffing.
Still in staffing, and then in 2015 opened my own.
So you like go in, you watch, you make your way up, and you're like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And you leave and you go and duplicate it.
Yeah. And really that's,
wow.
You have to like, when you're determined to be a millionaire, you have to open your own company at one point.
Yeah.
You have to like do your own thing, but I also had to learn the ropes along the way and figure out how people are doing these things. And so, and then along the way, I was investing in real estate on the side, took a lot of classes, and started investing in real estate when I was 22.
God.
We bought our first rental, and actually our first rental was really more for my husband. He always wanted to have a rental.
Yeah.
And of course, my husband was content with one, because he's like, my husband's one of those people that like, is content with like trying something.
Yeah. And
I don't just try things. Like I'm 110% or 0.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he and Walter would be besties.
Yeah. And that's, I think, why like our marriage works.
Yep.
And why your marriage works.
Yep.
We're go big or go home girls, and they're, content to like try things.
Yeah, and they're okay with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's important in life is knowing yourself and having that self-awareness and being okay with not expecting the other person to be the same as you.
Yes.
If I expected him to be 110% like me, it would never work.
No.
But it would also never work if we were both 110% people. Like,
have you dated someone who was like you?
No.
Okay. Well, I have, and that shit would suck.
Yeah.
Like we're both
that would
trying
be a very intense relationship.
Yes. And so I'm looking at the type of women in this space who do want to be amazing, who do want to be CEOs, who do want to like run businesses. And typically it's going to work if you found someone who's completely opposite of you.
Yeah. I feel like I'll speak for myself. I feel like I need that personally to like balance me out, because I tend to work myself to a point that like I literally can't go anymore. And I get to a point where like I can't get up and I can't like I have to spend the day on the couch doing absolutely nothing because I'm just so exhausted.
Yes, I can definitely relate. Like Walter's just like, isn't this you guys' week off? And you're literally, okay, emotional mastermind. Then you come, like you have all these things set up for Friday. Then you're flying back to like Saturday to do like X, Y, Z. I'm like, people on that level who just have dreams that are big, we just get it.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Well, and it's so hard because it's like, I get to that point where I'm exhausted, and then like, say the next day is Sunday, and I'm like, okay, I think I should start a company. Like, I have free time. I should start a company doing this and do this. And my husband's like, you couldn't even function yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, but I have free time today.
Like I had rest that I needed. Like I
have a few spare hours. I should fill them up.
I love that. I want to talk about how did you and your husband like get to the point where you guys like navigated? Because there are women in the door-to-door space, in every space, like real estate, everywhere, where exactly like what you said, like we are high achievers. Like we just want to go out and do things. Like what were some like conversations or some things that you felt like you and your husband had to be on the same page on, so that you didn't feel like, we were being demeaning of the person who is at home enjoying the things that they're doing, while at the same time it's like, hey, we're going to be running and sprinting like this direction. Like what were some of your things that you guys had to do?
Yeah. So that's actually been, we had to learn and grow a lot in that aspect.
Yeah.
Because, for a very long time, my husband did work. He was military for 18 years. Yeah. And so he worked till about 4 or 5 years ago. And when it transitioned to where he wasn't making money, there was a period where, he would often refer to it as my money. And it was always our money. Like we have a shared bank account. Yeah. And I would always be like, no, it's our money. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm not working. Like, And then, and we did get a little period of like resentment where like, you know, he would, you know, get mad that I was like working so much, and I would just be like, you're so ungrateful. Like, you're driving like Mercedes cars, like, you're so ungrateful. And so we did go through a period where it was like, hey, like,
we need to reevaluate.
We need to reevaluate this and like figure this out. And I think what we had to do was take a step back and say like, hey, this is like the point that we always wanted to get to. We always wanted to get to a point where like I was working and you were not working. And when we really like got to a point where we settled into it, it worked, and we became very grateful that we were able to be in that position and able to, you know, he is military, he has PTSD, like able to get him in a place where he didn't have to be out in the world and, you know, around people all the time. And when we were able to like really sit down and talk about it and say like, hey, this is a good thing. Like, we need to stop kind of like the tit for tat mentality.
Yeah.
And appreciate what we have. And here's why I'm feeling like you're ungrateful. Here's where, you know, you're feeling like it's my money. And we just sat down and talked about it and got to a place of gratitude instead of a place of like, me, and this is how I'm feeling. Instead, I was trying to focus on how he was feeling, and he was focusing on how I was feeling. That seems to work so much better for us when we try and focus on how the other person is feeling.
So you guys got to a point where you guys were like, hey, like, we have what we wanted, and you guys were just having like these deep conversations about like, hey, this is what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So, and you guys both agreed on like, hey, like, this brings you joy. Like, this
brings
me
peace.
This is
what we
like,
wanted.
Yeah. And we were both like, okay with it. Like, what are some ways or like some things that you feel like you do? And you had shared this the other day, is why I want you to share it here. What are some ways that you are validating him as the, you know, being at home majority of the time with like his kid, not his kids, with your guys' I call Walter, I say they're Walter's kids all the time, so I just got used to saying it with you, but with your guys' children, like, what are some ways that, you know, if the sole provider is the one that's not at home frequently, like, what are some ways and some tools that we can validate them and show them that we're appreciative?
Yeah, so I think what you're talking about is when I'm away, you know, we're away and we're experiencing things that we're so excited about. Yeah. And we're at these masterminds with like-minded people that are high achievers and amazing entrepreneurs, super successful people. And it's, I have the chills just talking about it. You know, it's so amazing to be in that energy and that headspace. And I just absolutely, you know, am so excited when I'm in that headspace. You probably already
thought of like 6 businesses since we left.
Right, and it's so fun. But then I come home and I'm, you know, on this high. Yeah. And ranting and raving and telling my husband how cool it is. And of course, you know, for him, it's, I don't want to say unnerving, but he's not on that high. Yep. You know, he's been in the same house with the same kids at the same energy level that I left. Yeah. And so for him, it's kind of like, okay, well, like, he's just not on the same wavelength. Yeah. And I think at some level there's a little bit of jealousy and some resentment that, like, okay, you went off and had fun and I'm here taking care of the kids. Yeah. And so for a while, it was kind of like it would create some resentment in the beginning. And we learned that when I would come back, I really needed to show gratitude and make sure he understood, like, you know, I'm so appreciative of you for everything you do. Yeah. And that allows me to come and experience these highs and do what I love to do. And I am allowed to do what I love to do because you do so much around the house and you take care of the kids and you make sure that the home front is where it needs to be. Yeah. And yes, you don't want to go experience these, entrepreneur masterminds, but like, thank you so much for what you do, and I love you, and
validating them.
Yeah, just making sure that they know, like, I'm not coming home, like, forgetting everything you do, or forgetting that you doing what you do enables me to do what I just did.
Yeah, and I think that that's huge. Like, in this space where, maybe roles might be reversed, is just the simple notion of like, yeah, that's okay, but making sure that we are continuing to show gratitude for the other person. And not, it doesn't matter whether they are going to be the ones at home, but I also feel like the ones at home do a good job at like validating those of us who are off, and those who aren't, like, take the time to validate them. One thing that really stood out to me that one of our friends had said there at the mastermind, Jerry, men just want to be respected. It doesn't matter who makes what money. It doesn't matter like who does X, Y, Z. They simply want to be respected. And I look at my husband, it's the same concept. Like, he enjoys what he does. He enjoys walks to the park. He enjoys for hours at a time taking them to X, Y, Z. And although I enjoy more this and the entrepreneur and doing that, making sure that I come home and still showing that respect of like, holy cow, I appreciate for you for what you do. And so I just love hearing and meeting other women who are just going through similar things, because in the door-to-door space, there are women who want to be badasses. There are women who are the breadwinners. And I feel like sometimes we get a little bit of guilt. And so what I want to move into with you, like, what are some like tips, or like, what are some advice that you would be giving to women who have all these goals and dreams, but they're just getting into these setbacks, or they're just like, oh, well, maybe my husband's holding me back, or my brother, mom, friend, or whoever. Like, what tips and advice would you give to someone who, in your case, you knew in 6th grade that you want to be a millionaire? Mm-hmm. I'm sure every single person who's listening to this episode is like, yeah, I want to be a millionaire. Like, what were some things that you felt like that you had to just do in your life and knew that it was just a non-negotiable, that you were going to hit your goals, that you were going to be the Heidi that you are right now?
So I think there's a few factors there. One is I was very, very disciplined. I think that, the easiest way I can explain it is relating it to a diet. If you want something, you have to do what you have to do today to get what you want 6 months from now.
And it can't be for 2 seconds, for 1 hour.
Right. You have to be consistent. So I consistently worked my ass off. I was working 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for, 16 years. Maybe not the full 16, but like at least 10 years. Wow. I was working my ass off. And you can ask anyone, anyone that worked with me would say, I don't know anyone that works harder than Heidi.
I love it.
So definitely, like, that's a theme in our house, be the hardest worker in the room. And I think I didn't ever make an excuse for, like, why I couldn't get something. I found a way to get it. If there was an obstacle in my way, I wouldn't let there be a problem. I would find a way around the problem and figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah, I feel like high achievers, especially like you're always coming to the table with a solution. Yeah. With a business, so with something. You're hardly showing up with an excuse.
There was a joke that I would Heidi Mcnulty my way through it. like if
their last name is how do you say it?
McNulty. So, like, if there was an issue, it was like, she'll Heidi Mcnulty her way through it. Like, and I will. Like, I don't let things hold me back. Like, I will find a way through it. And I don't ever know how. I don't know, like, what I'm going to do ahead of time, but I will find a way to, like, get where I want to go, and I will go there. I think the third thing is sacrificing things today. So there was, like, a lot of sacrifices that I made to get where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I think that to, you know, even as far as financial sacrifices. Like there was a lot of things, you know, my family would go to Lagoon. We wouldn't go because it wasn't part of our budget.
Yeah.
And we were investing and we had a very tight budget so that we could invest as much as possible.
Yep.
And I think that even things like that, you know, if you live on a set budget so that you can invest young, it's going to pay off. It's just like a diet. If you know, live by a strict diet, you're going to have a super fit body 6 months from now.
Yeah.
If you invest young, you're going to have a pretty
good bank account.
Yeah. Good, you're going to have a good investment portfolio 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And so I understood the concept of discipline and going without now or working hard now for it to pay off 10 years from now.
It is legitimately a common theme. In any successful person that I have met or have like interviewed, the biggest thing is going to be consistency and discipline. Mm-hmm. And you are definitely the epitome of those simple things. At 19, having a kid, well, sixth grade, basically telling yourself that you were going to be a millionaire. Having a kid at 19, not making excuses, getting away from the environment that you knew that you didn't need to be in, then getting married, getting on the same page and wavelength as him, and then now opening like multiple businesses. So tell us about like, I want to know your net worth. I want to know what business that you just closed, because I feel like in the space that I'm in, a lot of us women shy away from it. Like I had just interviewed someone and she was like, oh, I'm too shy to say like what I charge. And I'm like, that's a part of like us doing the work on us as women, is like, why can men say it and own it and love it and be okay with it?
Yeah.
And we can't. Like, this is my price. This is what I cost.
Yeah.
and I'm like, I want women in this space to be okay talking about like, I can be there. Like, yes, I can 10x my income. Like, yes, I can go and make billions. Yes, I can do all these things. And you're just an awesome example of where you started to where you are now. And so, yes, I want to know your net worth. I want to know like what you're doing now and what's your next move.
So right now my net worth is between 12 and 13 million.
I freaking love it.
And I am a weirdo. And every time that I hit different metrics, I always look up like how many people are in that metric.
Yes.
And there are only 50,000 women that have a net worth of over 10 million.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Only 50,000.
Yeah.
On the planet. And Heidi is only 35.
Yeah.
So Heidi is only 35, net worth of 12 million, and only 50,000 women on this planet can relate to her.
So my goal, it's so weird though, because it's like, I don't feel like I'm like rich or anything. Like I don't.
That's like what rich people say.
And maybe it's because we live on such a tight budget. Like we're still, you know, like we still live on a budget. We still
That's why we're friends.
Yeah. We still like don't spend money. My kids still ask for stuff and I'm like, nope, that's not in our budget.
Yeah.
Like, they still ask to buy stuff on like apps and I'm like, no, we're not spending money on that. Like, I work too hard for my money. I'm not buying you that. Like, you know, so
I freaking love
I don't know. Like, I think that's why we, you know, why we are where we are is because we don't blow it, you know.
Even like yesterday.
Like people spend money on Candy Crush. I would never in my life spend a penny on Candy Crush.
That was Walter, and I almost divorced him when I saw the fuss and bill on T-Mobile. I'm like, you spent this on freaking Candy Crush?
I would die.
Like, who the hell does that?
I would die.
He's like, well, I needed lives to get to... Wait tomorrow. The lives are free and
I would die.
But anyways, no, I love it. I'm just thinking about like yesterday when we're like, hey, we're going to go to Vegas, and you're like shopping at flights to like find like it's $89.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, I love
like,
you so
dude,
much.
I am the most frugal flyer. Like I fly for like $65. Like I fly Frontier all the time and everyone's like, Frontier? And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's cheap. And they're like, I've never flown first class. Like I'm over here like, Heidi, I'm just gonna go
for free and I'll meet you there.
I know. I refuse to pay that much. Like I work way too hard for my money.
I love you so much.
I will say there's a few things we splurge on. Like, we'll splurge on vacations, like
Same.
on like the all-inclusive
Same.
resorts. We'll splurge on.
I
And
will
cars.
always splurge
We have
on
nice
experiences.
cars.
I haven't gotten there yet. I still don't like cars.
Yeah, but it's because I grew up and my mom's cars were always breaking down. So I have this like paranoia of my car breaking down and being stuck on the side of the road. So I like have to have nice cars. Like if the battery dies on a car, I'm like, oh my God, I need a new car. Like
She's like, we're not going to take it to the mechanic. We're not going to worry about the warranties. Let's just get a new car.
I have to have a new car. Like I cannot be broken down on the side of the road. It's like trauma.
I am going to introduce you to AAA, Heidi, after this.
I cannot.
But no, I love just the energy and the vibrations that you bring, and I want more women to like love it and own the simple fact that they're just a boss babe. And that just means like being around other like-minded people. If you're in an environment or in a circle where people are going to be telling you, no, you can't be a millionaire. No, you can't make 500 grand.
Absolutely can.
Yes. Like you've got to be able to move mountains to get there. But again, just like your simple story of where you've been to where you are now, like I am super excited to see what you do over the next 10 years, for sure. But what I do want to have you do, before we get off, I know that you had shared like some tips on basically what it was that you needed to do to get to becoming a millionaire. But if there is one piece of advice for a woman who's just out there struggling, for a woman who is just questioning whether this is for her, whether she can get to the next level, whether she's good enough, whether she can achieve her goals and her dreams, like what piece of advice would you give a struggling woman right now who ultimately wants to be in our position one day?
So I think that's a twofold question because I think there's two parts to that. One, you have to know that you're enough.
Yeah.
And so there's a practice that I do with my son and his friends when they're not feeling like they're enough. And I actually learned it from my mental coach. So whenever you're not feeling enough or whenever you're depressed or whenever you're
and just
down,
FYI, so she just said that she has a mental coach, like successful people, millionaires, like any type of coaches that we can get who specializes in something that we need. Like I just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out, that Heidi, someone super successful is like, yes, this is something that I need that's helping me.
Oh, it's
and
absolutely.
now you're using it with your kids.
Yeah, it's absolutely the best thing I did. I've been with him for about 3 years now.
Wow.
And he's amazing. He basically redirects my mind to positive thinking. We talk once a week, and anytime I'm struggling with something or, maybe not even struggling, but going through a negotiation or a conversation or whatever I'm going through that week, we talk through it, and he directs me to coming from a place of love and coming from a place of positivity and coming from a place of abundance.
Yeah.
And keeping me on a positive mindset and making sure that I'm, a positive light in the world and not coming from a place of lack and not coming from a place of fear or
I love that.
anything like that. So one of the practices that he taught me that I do with my son and his friends often is whenever you're not feeling enough, listing 10 things about yourself that you love that isn't, an extracurricular activity you do or things like that, just traits about yourself.
Yeah.
I'm funny. I'm kind. I'm, listing 10 things about yourself that you love. And a lot of the times it's really hard. And at first you're just like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like myself right now. But when you get to like number 5 and 6 and 7, you start to feel better.
Yeah.
And it changes your attitude and your mindset, and it puts you in a better place. So if there's women out there or even men that aren't feeling enough, I would challenge you to do that practice even on a daily basis.
I love that.
To where you realize that, like, you are enough just as you are.
Yeah.
Like, you're enough and you're lovable and you're, you know, you're good enough, and not even just enough, right? Like, you're great just as you are.
Yeah.
And all the extra stuff, you know, with my son, I go through this practice, the karate, the bodybuilding, the straight A's, all of that stuff is just added.
Yeah.
It's added
Extra credit.
awesomeness, but it's not necessary for us to love you. We love you as you are.
I love that.
And
the part 2 of the loaded question.
yeah. And then the part 2, if they're wanting to be badasses.
We all want to be badasses,
right.
Heidi.
I would say if they need an accountability partner, get an accountability partner. But I would say set a goal for what you want to be a badass in and come up with a plan. I really, really, really love... oh my gosh, and the name of the book just blanked my mind. There's a book. I'm
going to write it down.
Why is it blanking my mind? That's so annoying. There's a book that's that really helps with setting goals and sticking to them. And it is Atomic Habits. Sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could not. So Atomic Habits, I would highly recommend reading it. Anytime I'm trying to set a new goal, I go to Atomic Habits, and I have detailed notes from Atomic Habits. But it is all about discipline and changing your habits. Your habits will determine your life, and if you want to be disciplined, you need good habits.
It's crazy how many successful people say that, all their little habits that they do on a regular basis just adds up to make such a big difference in our life, for sure.
And if you need help changing, really, if someone wants to be a badass and they're not already, it's their habits.
Yes.
So Atomic Habits is a great way to change your habits, and then you can make the habits that you want to become who you want to be.
I love that.
Because
anyone
can do what they want to do. They just have to put their mind to it.
And not making excuses. It's just so common in the society that we live in just to make excuses. So for those of you women out there in the space, who are I'm basically in a relationship where I'm the breadwinner, it'll work out. Have those hard conversations and see what's really going to work out for you guys. For those of you women who feel like you guys aren't enough and you guys can achieve whatever it is that you guys want to, yes, we are here to say you absolutely freaking can. For those of you who want to make the little changes from where you are right now to where you want to be, 3, 4, 5 years from now, definitely take Heidi's advice and start with the book Atomic Habits. It's crazy the little steps that they're teaching you. It's called habit stacking. Mm-hmm. The little things that you're doing on a regular basis that is just automatic every single day. And I can attest to the success that people are finding in their lives is going to start with the little tiny things that we are doing on a daily basis. And so for those of you women out there who are looking to invest, who are looking for tips, who are wanting to get into real estate, Heidi is your go-to badass. And so I want her to be able to leave your IG and your however we can reach out to you. So if someone is like, hey, I really want to invest in something Heidi has several investments. I'm definitely going to be writing her a check here in a second. After having the lawyers look at the contract, we're good. But yes, for those of you women who are just wanting to make little steps, I love it. 22, you were already investing. There are so many 22-year-old women here in this space who have just by starting a little investment now, by the time you're freaking Heidi's age, you're going to look back and holy cow, I'm glad that I did. So Heidi, leave your information on how women can reach out to you.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Oh, no. So you're going to say it on it.
Oh,
so your
sorry.
Instagram handle.
Okay.
Your Instagram handle.
So my Instagram handle is at Heidi Mcnulty. Just my name. HeidimcNulty.
And then your email if we want to get into any of your investments.
And my email is HeidiMcNulty22@gmail.com.
Okay. Those of you badass women or even you badass men who want to get into some real estate, go ahead and hit her up in her DM. But she's taken, so just hit her up for the real estate stuff. Again, I am super stoked for those of you women in the space. Like, thanks for being here. And again, the little things that are going to take us from where you are right now to 5-10 years from now when you're going to be a millionaire is definitely going to be those little habits. It's going to be the changes that you make today. I'll see you next week. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. If I've added any kind of value to your thoughts on knocking doors, please share this podcast with another female rep. Until next time, know that you are capable, you are valued, and most importantly, you are enough.